DZ Bank is quite happy, and we're a bit proud that we're one of the first banks in Germany which really built and made their digital custody platform going live. We can serve our clients dealing with settlement and custody of digital assets, focusing on crypto securities according to the German securities law. My name is Holger Meffert. I'm head of security services and digital custody at DZ Bank in Frankfurt. DZ Bank is the largest German depository bank with a volume of 300 million asset under depository.
Beginning of 2023, we then decided that we should best work together with Ripple Custody.
Okay, so in today's update about XRP, we are going to check out a very important piece of positive news that is probably going to go under the radar, but I believe this is a major partnership for XRP, and the news itself is not really the key. It's actually what it implies that is probably going to be absolutely huge for the future of Ripple and also XRP. So with all that said, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're having a great time with your family and loved ones. And in this video, we are going to talk about Ripple's partnership with DZ Bank, which is one of the Germany's largest financial institutions. And trust me, this isn't just another crypto collaboration headline. No, this is serious institutional level integration, and XRP is right there at the center of it. So first things first, what is the big deal about DZ Bank? You see, DZ Bank is Germany's second largest bank by assets, and it acts as the central institution for over 700 cooperative banks across the country. That is a massive reach across Germany's financial landscape. And to give you a sense of scale, DZ Bank actually manages over $600 billion in assets. So when a bank like that decides to go live with XRP Custody, you know that isn't just hype. It signals something very much real, and it's a shift in how traditional institutions are starting to treat blockchain technology. Now, let's talk a bit about the bigger picture, which is institutional integration of blockchain. You see, a few years ago, blockchain was mostly a developer playground, or in other words, a high-risk, high-reward asset for retail investors. But right now, the story is way different. Banks, governments, and financial institutions are no longer ignoring blockchain. They are building with it. Why? Because blockchain offers four very important things. Number one is the speed. Number two, you know it, it's transparency. Number three is security. And number four, which is very important, is lower transaction cost. And especially in Europe, there's kind of a growing trend of regulated institutions adopting blockchain infrastructure to modernize their systems and cut out potentially all the legacy inefficiencies. Now, here is where Ripple and XRP come into play. Ripple's mission was never about making a meme coin or something like that. Sure, we do have some meme coins on XRP Ledger and you can go and trade them, but that's not really the main point and main target. From the beginning, it's been about creating the backbone of international payments, a real-time decentralized alternative to outdated systems like SWIFT. And right now, with DZ Bank going live with XRP Custody, we are no longer talking about potential. This is real world use case. A major European bank is now securely storing XRP for institutional purposes. And you might ask, well, okay, why does this actually matter? Couple of reasons. Number one, this is proof of institutional trust in XRP as a usable asset. Number two, it lays the foundation for future settlement use case. We are going to talk about that in a bit, especially cross-border transactions. Number three, it pushes Ripple further towards its goal of becoming the global financial infrastructure layer. So you see, again, I want to repeat that this isn't just a simple partnership. It's kind of a signal that does suggest blockchain is moving from edges of finance to its very core. And XRP, well, it seems like that is actually leading the charge. Now, we've talked about DZ Bank and how big of a deal their involvement actually is. Let's get into the real meat of the matter, XRP Custody. So, question is, what does custody even mean in the crypto world? You see, when we talk about custody in TradFi, we are usually talking about institutions like banks and custodians holding and safeguarding assets on behalf of their clients. In crypto, it's basically the same concept, just with digital assets like XRP instead of stocks or maybe cash. XRP custody means that a secure, regulated entity is holding XRP tokens for clients, and in almost all cases, they are not usually retails. No, we are talking about big clients. Think, for example, like hedge funds, banks, fintech firms, or other institutional players who do not want the hassle of self-custody. And here is why XRP custody, in my opinion, is a huge deal. Number one, it basically unlocks institutional access. Why? Because let's be honest, most institutions do not want to deal with something like seed phrases, wallets, and cold storage. They want somebody that they trust, for example, in this case, like DZ Bank, to just simply handle those situations. This is how institutional adoption actually works. With custody, XRP becomes much more accessible to big money players. This is very important. Number two, this sets, in my opinion, the stage for real utility. Why? Because when a bank like DZ starts holding XRP, it's not just so they can stare at it. No, I believe this is mainly because they are seeing a future use case in here, and whether it's cross-border settlements, liquidity provision, or maybe tokenization, custody is basically the step one. Another very important reason for why this is a big deal, it's actually because I believe it signals trust in XRP's regulatory clarity. You see, especially in a continent like Europe, banks are not going to touch even an asset that is legally shady. XRP getting custody treatment by a major German bank means serious compliance checks have been already passed, which is huge. And here is my final reason for why I believe XRP custody can be a huge deal. It basically enables future services. You see, you need to kind of think about it like this. If a bank holds XRP, the next logical steps are offering staking if allowed, and we talked about a special article in the previous video. I would highly suggest to check out, for example, QNT's video or maybe Algorand's one. We talked about it. Now major institutions can easily stake their tokens without really worrying about whether those are going to be securities or not, which is very important. And also, maybe the banks that are holding XRP want to, for example, lend them or maybe use XRPs that they have as payments or even real-time settlements. All of these services is accessible via XRP. And I promise you, once you see one bank starts, the other ones are going to follow effective immediately. So yes, you might hear custody and think it's just a boring backend infrastructure, but actually this is how mass adoption starts at the beginning. No big institution jumps into using an asset until they can store it securely, integrated with their internal systems, and offer it as a service to clients. That's exactly what this decent bank Ripple move is setting up. Now, at this moment, I need you to just zoom out for a second, because this partnership with DZ Bank, I believe it's not just about custody or one single bank. In my opinion, it's about XRP positioning itself as the backbone of the future financial system, because like we said it at the beginning also, Ripple's long-term vision has always been very clear. Create a global financial network where value moves as easily as information. A world where cross-border payments are instant, cheap, and also trustless, meaning no middleman, no delays, and no nonsense. And how are they going to achieve that? Well, in my opinion, it's going to be through real institutional integration, just like what we are seeing at the moment with DZ Bank. This custody integration is just, in my opinion, a step one. Once XRP is safely custodied in a bank's infrastructure, here is what could potentially follow. Number one, real-time settlements. XRP's biggest strength is fast, being cheap, and also playing a major role in global payments. I think DZ Bank might actually start exploring using XRP for settlements, especially for cross-border trades or maybe even financial messaging infrastructure. Number two, tokenization of assets. Ripple has been investing heavily in the tokenization narrative, especially of real world assets, RWAs, like bonds, stocks, and also real estate. And with XRP as a bridge asset and custody ready, banks like DZ could potentially tokenize and settle assets faster than before. And finally, interbank connectivity. You see, with more banks on board, RippleNet could potentially slowly but surely evolve into a multi-bank global liquidity network, and XRP would be at the center of that process. Okay, in this case, XRP will be the neutral asset enabling all these flows. And that brings me to the XRP and what does this actually mean for the token? Because let's be honest, we all do care about the price and we want to see it go up, correct? Well, okay, here is the thing. Utility drives demand, and institutional infrastructure, I believe, is exactly what enables utility at a scale. This kind of news doesn't really immediately move the price based on my experience, but it does actually build the rails the future price action will potentially ride on. And when big players are custodying XRP, it means number one, they are preparing to use it. Number two, they may buy more over time. Number three, they may help others also have access to it. And as adoption grows, especially with limited XRP supply, I think it's about like 100 billion total supply capped, the natural economic effect is just upward pressure on the price. So as final thoughts, if you are looking at the DZ Bank partnership and thinking, oh well, this is just yet another bank, I think you might be missing the point. This is how real adoptions happens. It starts with one bank and then 2, 10, and then it will lead to an entire region adoption. And make no mistake, Ripple is here to play the long game. This is kind of the key, which is making me say, you know what, this is just the beginning. And if XRP delivers on even a fraction of this vision, we could potentially be looking at one of the most important digital assets in the global economy. And what do you think is going to happen to the price of that asset? I think makes sense to argue that we are going to have in years ahead a beautiful looking and also a sustainable uptrend. So overall, from my point of view, this is a huge partnership, and when it comes to news like this, you need to kind of look at the bigger picture in order to understand what might happen overall in the mid to long term. Now, what is going on in XRP's price? Let's actually go first things first on daily time frame, because I want to be very clear, one way or the other, I am extremely bullish. And in case that you are a regular viewer, you probably have heard many times what I'm about to say. In XRP, we basically had a 7-year long-term drawn-out consolidation pattern, and moves like this usually end to massive extensions. And the fact that in XRP recently we have just set an all-time high and took only the highest high, about $3.50, makes me say, you know what, this is just the beginning, and the current move down is just a consolidation pattern. And after it's over, what are we going to have? I'm gonna guess probably another maybe 300 to even 400% move on the upside. Technicals, at least for the mid to long term in XRP, look extremely bullish. And again, once more, let me say it, I believe in the long term, we are having a wave 1, correction for wave 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up in this bull run back in 2017 into this larger degree wave 3, and this whole move to about potentially this point can be a correction for 4, and what's next? A huge move on the upside into wave 5. And I really have a hard time believing that our move up just by setting an all-time high is over already, and from the current point we are going to start a bear market. If you think that, you know what, more power to you, fair enough, I absolutely respect your opinion. But based on the news that we are checking in every single update, and based on the fact that again we have been consolidating for a couple of years, I'm going to argue our uptrend is just simply far from over. Now, having said that, in the short term, what is going on? Because the story can be, I guess, a little bit different. However, if we remember the last time that we talked about XRP, we were right around this area, and the idea was as long as we are not taking this important low, we are actually good to go up, and we can say maybe in this area we are having basically a series of 1-2. So did we take the low or not? Let's hide everything. Okay. As you can see, the answer is by a very small margin. No, we still at least haven't taken the loss. So this can be, in my books, definitely an optimistic sign, especially since, like we talked about it before, we are absolutely able to find off of the highest high to about the lowest low a WXY in form of a double zigzag, as you can see with all the subwaves. Now, what do we need to see in the short term in order for us to talk bullish with more confidence? Let's go on 15-minute chart and see what is happening. So I think it does make kind of sense to argue this is a 5 wave on the upside, followed by probably an ABC zigzag down, and this can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, followed by yet another ABC down. So maybe we are having in here a series of 1, 2. This can be 5 up into 1, correction for wave 2, and then wave 3 and 4 and 5, which on a higher degree might be into this wave 3, and this is kind of the key. What you want to see in the short term in XRP is a consolidation pattern, a correction structure into wave 4, and one very important characteristic of that is what? Being slow and choppy, and you should be able to find basically in our pullbacks up during that correction constantly overlapping of the waves. That is a very important characteristic of a correction, and then you want to see yet another move on the upside into wave 5, and at that point, you know what, you are probably going to see me saying maybe this point right in here about $2.1 in XRP is actually the low of our correction. And especially I need you to have your eyes on the next move up if we are going to get it, and you need to see, Ennett, are we going to take this important high right in here about like $2.35? Why is this important? Because let's say, okay, we are going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in it we are going to take the highs. At that point, finding a 5 wave starting from the highest high to about this point is going to be a bit of a challenge, and we are going to argue, you know what, maybe our correction from here to about this point is over, and from the current point we can get a move on the upside. So in the short term, for now in XRP, all eyes should be on the current move, and let's hope that we get a correction, another move on the upside, which in it, hopefully we are going to take this important high. If we do this, it will be a great bullish sign in the short term. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in XRP. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.